So we're going to start out, I'm starting out with this kind of smaller brush, and It's a Boy is a very light ink, and that's what I want right now. I'm just putting down a hint of color. Hopefully you'll be able to see it, dabbing a little bit off, and I'm just going to pull that towards me. I just want a hint, kind of that streaky kind of sky, and then also I can move my blender brush just in little tiny circles to just get, oh good, you can see that hint of color, I think. And it works best for me to pull it towards me. So I'm just going to pull it. And then use kind of the blending motion. I just want a hint of color here. And I kind of want it wider here on the edge, and then maybe a little bit thinner. So then I'm going to flip it this way, and I'm going to kind of go alternating and pull this towards me this way. Just hints of color here, not laying down a lot yet. We're going to do that in a little bit. And this tonight will definitely be a lesson in patience. The more patient you are, the slower you go, taking your time will make all the difference in layering your colors. Hi, Sky. Sky's here too. Dana says, yes, the witch does have the cauldron. I thought so. So this is Twilight. Very soft gray. I'm using the exact same blender brush. I don't mind that it's got a little bit of the blue. And now I'm just kind of layering the color along with the blue. Can you see that? Just hints of it. We're creating that kind of spooky, cloudy, cool to cold kind of autumn evening. And I like that these Catherine Puller inks are softer colors, that I can put as much color or as little color as I want. Now I'm going to go in with pixie dust. Same brush still. And you have to be careful with this one. It can put down a lot of color. So I'm going with a very easy touch. I'm taking a lot off and just taking my time. And it's fine if it's kind of streaky, because sometimes that's how the sky looks at night, and we're going to be layering a lot of color. So I don't mind it looking that way right now. I'm kind of giving myself a guideline is what I'm doing actually. Softly blending. Okay. Bear with me. I know that doesn't look good right now. It takes time. So now you have seen me use this moon over and over and over again. And in my mind, I'm going with the thirds principle. It's not perfect, but I'm thinking moon and sky, ocean, and then the rocky cliff or the grassy hillside right there. Okay? So this is and I want a big moon. I want it very dramatic. That's why I'm going with the bigger one tonight. And if you remember, I want my moon reflecting off of the water. So I'm going to have the horizon kind of going here in the bottom third of the moon also. So I'm going to turn it. And I am going to use a bigger brush, and I'm actually getting it a little bit damp, and I'm going to go back in with the pixie dust. put a little bit of color, dab quite a bit off, and now, and keeping in mind that my horizon will be about right here, which it would be fine if I would get some of this color down where the water will go. We won't notice it. And I'm just giving it a hint of an aura. I want it to look a little bit ethereal. In the end, we may not even see this much, but we'll start with it. That little bit of glow. And I'm just going slowly and building the color. And remember, you might not even see a lot there, but when we pull up our moon, it will be much more dramatic. I'm going back in with It's a Boy. And I'm going right over the pixie dust. Maybe even tapping in some here and over here. One thing that we want to remember in the water and in the night sky is that we need some white space, because the white with the darks is actually where the drama comes in. So we need to remember we can add it in, but it's better to save as much as we can in the beginning. Hi Sheila, Sheila's here, and hi Mel, Mel's here too. So now I'm going to peel this up, and that looks pretty good. I see the little streakiness. It makes you think of the clouds going across, but it's going to get better. So bear with me. Let's add a little bit brighter blue around the outside, but once again, keep in mind that we need to keep the white space. Let's do this first. Let's go ahead and add in our horizon before we do all that. So, this is easier if I use the grid lines on my table to get this straight. So I'm taking just a scrap piece of cardstock. I want to go about right here for my horizon. And now I'm going to take Twilight again with my very fine blending brush. Tap just a little bit on, and I'm going to tap quite a bit back off. And I want to go right along the edge of my scrap piece of paper, very gently, very little pressure, and all I'm doing is giving the hint of that horizon. There we go. I'm going to do just a little bit more. Remember, it's easier to add more, but difficult to take it off. There. It almost makes it look kind of smoky, cloudy. See that? So now we'll remember that that is our horizon, and then this will be below, this would be the water. So we need to remember to keep a lot of white space here, which is once again the same as when we keep the white space here on our moon. This is what gives all the drama. It's the white space with the dark around it. So we need to remember that on the water, not to cover all this up with blue. We need some, but not too much. So let's put that back there. Now we can remember where our horizon is. And let's take a more dramatic blue. I like Something Borrowed might be too bright. All That Jazz is kind of a good turquoisey color. But that would be good. Oh, these are two of my favorites for the water. All That Jazz and Daydream. It has a hint of green in it. It really adds more drama to the water. So for the sky, let's go with that Something Borrowed. But we're going to just keep this a little bit around the edges for a little bit of dramatic blue, and then add in some clouds. So keep our baby wipe there. Let's go with the little bit bigger blending brush because it gives us a softer effect than using the smaller ones. But we're going to take a lot of this back off. We do not want that too bright. Add a little bit of damp to it, and very gently we're going off from the side. And once again, I'm keeping some white in there. Don't cover all that white up. And I do not want to take this too far into my moon. And we're just layering and layering and building lots of layers. And what's going to happen is if you take your time in building these colors, it becomes more translucent and has a much greater depth of color and interest in the end. So there's a little bit of bright, okay? That's all I want. That was something borrowed. Very easy touch on that. Now let's go ahead and add our water. And for that, I'm going to start out with a little bit of It's a Boy. Right there. And I'm going to use my bigger brush again. And remember, keeping as much white kind of right here as we can. So we're going to build this up a little bit. And It's a Boy is a very soft color, so I'm not too worried about it coming. We need a little bit of blue, obviously, not just solid white in there. So this is perfect for the middle part. And by the way, I'm using Bristol Strathmore Smooth cardstock for this. It'll take a lot of ink, a lot of blending, and you won't have any problems with it. I use it almost all the time because it's a little bit more white, and you can do all kinds of water splatters, watercolor, whatever you like with it. And it really blends nicely when you're with the brushes and the ink. So I am blending a little bit of blue there, but not much. We can always go and add more. Now I'll go in with All That Jazz. And I'll give you an idea of what this is going to look like. It's bright, but it's a beautiful kind of oceany, Caribbean kind of color. Mainly, I'm going to keep this on the edges. And we want it to be darker, much darker around the edges. It's where the drama comes in. And I can use my cardstock so we don't cover up our sky. Oops, gotta hold it down. Notice I'm not even taking any ink off because I really want a lot of color there. I like that these inks stay a little bit wet and it gives me time to blend it. It doesn't just soak in and leave a lot of those marks. And of course the blending brushes help with that too. Let's go ahead and add some Daydream. That's really going to add the drama on the sides. So look, see how dark that is, but that beautiful deep teal color. Sometimes the paper will become pretty wet and it almost acts like it doesn't want to take any more ink. And if that happens, we just need to dry it a little bit with our heat gun. Get that ink to soak in and dry, and then go back into it. And sometimes it's just a matter of also being a little bit more aggressive with our blending brush. Now I'm going to go back in just a little bit with all that jazz to the middle. Let's just use what's on our brush and pull that. And remember, our moon needs to come up, so we just need to blend this a little bit out. We want the brightest reflection to be right there under the moon. And our rocky cliff, or our kind of grassy cliff, will be right here. So we aren't going to worry too much about the bottom either. But remember, what creates the drama is the dark against the light. The dark is just as important as the light parts. So let's stop right there because we can always add in more. And let's go back and see what we've got. Do you already see? We can already get the hint of the moodiness. And hi, Diane. Diane's here. Andre's here. I see Kim's here. Wow, we have lots of people. Is Catherine Pooler here? Catherine Pooler, I knew you, when you commented today on Instagram, I have to tell you, I got a little nervous because even my sisters said, I think Catherine Pooler might be on. And I said, oh, I think she's probably a little busy. But thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. I love your inks. And they're beautiful and they're bright. Someone asked me today, actually, comparing them to other inks. And my response is that I love how bright a lot of these are and the depth of color, and that they react with water, and they do a lot of the different things that we like dye inks to do. And I just, like I said, I love how they blend. They stay just a little bit wet, and they're perfect for this. So now here's the trick, guys. We are going to, let me switch this paper to a cleaner paper because we do not want any transfer of our ink, of our dark blue inks onto our night sky. So this is what some of you people may have seen before. And we kind of forget how these things work. Just a paper towel. And I'm going to tear it. And I don't want this to be real crazy, but maybe just a little bit rounded or a little straight. And if we don't like what we get, just tear it again till we get something we do like. So, tearing my paper towel, we're going back into our night sky. And what I want to do now is I'm really going to build these clouds, giving a dramatic kind of Halloween, spooky kind of night. So I'm going to start in the bottom, and we're going to lay the color next to the paper towel, because if you think about how clouds are lit at night, they're lit from the top. So we want all of our white and light at the top, and our dark color will be at the bottom. So I'm going to go in with Twilight, and this is where I need to keep in mind where my horizon is. And this is definitely where we want to go in lighter and add dark as we go. And it's okay that this brush I used before for this guy has some other color because it looks good that way. So go in with the Twilight. And let's see, Dana's, I'm trying to look at comments at the same time. Let's see. Dana says she has mini inks too. Yes, I believe, Catherine, tell us if I'm wrong, but I do believe there are mini cubes. I think I had seen those one day. I am a person that I prefer my full ink, my larger ink pads. So, but I do think I saw mini ink pads from Catherine Pooler also. So I'm going in, and I also want the clouds to be a little bit wider here and kind of come to a little strip across my moon. So I'm tapping. Let me get a little bit of ink. I'm tapping along the edge of my paper towel and then kind of brushing it up and rounding it on the edges. And once again, it's not going to look like much until we pull this away. Let's see, we ready? Ta-da! Look at that, I love that. What do you guys think? Oh, I just love the look that this paper towel gives. I don't know about you guys, but I totally see the clouds there. So let's go in now from the other side. We don't want it to be perfectly even, but we need to kind of add some on the other side too. So once again, I'm dabbing with my blender brush. It helps give me a little bit more control before I start doing a rounding motion. There we go. And it just places a little bit of ink, and then I can bring it up, and you have to be careful because obviously the paper towel moves. But there we go. And then I can bring it just a little bit up to give a bigger cloud. What do you think? Jen says she likes the big ones too, but I love that I can try so many colors in a way that fits my budget. I agree, Jen, and that's a lot of times what I do. I will buy smaller ink pads, especially when I'm trying out a new company to see if I like the ink. Just to see, you know, I love ink, and I'm always trying new inks and different companies. And sometimes you aren't sure if you like a certain color, so sometimes it is good to try the smaller ink pads first. But I almost always go back and buy the big ones if I don't start out with them because I'm just someone that I prefer the bigger ink pads. So let's add another row of clouds here. Kim says she can see the clouds. Yay! Tapping in more color. Once again, making it a little bit bigger here. And then tapping it into a very narrow line. Once again, being patient. There you go. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. I have to tell you guys, I was so excited today when I was doing this. Thank you, Sheila. She says she likes the cloud idea. Doesn't it look a little spooky? And here's what's cool. We're using the inks we have, the fabulous blender brushes that we love, and a paper towel. It makes it so easy. And sometimes it's just using the things we have and some techniques we already know and love, but have kind of forgotten to get the look we want. See, now here's what I love. I put a lot of ink there, but because it stays just a little bit damp, it gives me time to move it around. Isn't that great? Oh, I love it. Let's use some pixie dust and get some of that dramatic purple in here. What do you guys think? Do you like this? Are we going to see lots of cards with clouds? Because I was just so excited today when I was doing this. And remember, we need to keep some white space. The white against the dark is what adds the top of our clouds. So I need to leave a little bit of space to now do my pixie dust. And I'm just remember in the beginning, I'm just dabbing it on. And then kind of going in that little circular motion. And that kind of gives it the rounded, billowy, soft blended cloud look. There we go. See how that added a little bit of depth to that gray? The gray looked great, but adding in another color kind of gives it the contrast and the depth. So let's see. Lisa says she loves it. Thank you. Thanks, Liz. And let's go. I don't know. I think Catherine's talking about cocktails. Have I missed the whole conversation? that's one of my favorite topics. So I totally missed. Are you guys talking about cocktails without me? Because I tell you, sometimes I get so stressed out getting ready for these lives and trying to figure out what I'm going to do in preparation. I think I need a couple of cocktails. I missed that whole conversation. Let's see. There we go. I love that one. Let's do a little bit more, and then we'll even go in with another color, I'm thinking. Look at that. Isn't that so pretty? Okay, let's go ahead. I've already got some purple on here, so let's do this side. And see, I got a little bit much there, so I'm just going to keep blending. And that's okay because that corner will also be covered up a little bit. Yeah, see, that's dark. But we're going to edge it in dark, so it'll be fine. Isn't that pretty? Let's go in with just a little bit more blue. And this, I have to tell you, Melissa she's a huge fan of the Juniper Mist. And this is the game changer. This is where a lot of the moody, dark drama is going to come into play. So we need to be gentle with it, but here you can get an idea. See that? Melissa has been using it a lot for her evening skies, and it really is. It's a game changer. So I love this. Let's take it really close to the horizon, tap it on, and see where we go with it. And I want these to come up just a little bit, make those wider at the top. There we go. Isn't that beautiful? Look, that changed everything. It was beautiful to begin with, but that changes everything. So let's do this side. I have to tell you guys, it's kind of funny. I'm trying to keep up with, there's all these conversations going on and I feel like I'm missing out. I just want to stop and read all the comments. So I'll have to go back and read those later. Look, isn't that Juniper Mist? I just love it. Love it, love it, love it. Let's take some this way. Get some darker billowy clouds up here. There we go. Look at that. Oh my gosh. I think Juniper Mist and Daydream are absolutely two of my favorite colors, especially in creating these scenes. There we go. Look at that. Isn't that so pretty? Love it. Okay. Oh, Susan says it's her fave color too. I tell you, it is a phenomenal. It's just phenomenal. Let's go this way and remember what I'm doing here. Am I in this? Make sure I'm on in the screen. Bear with me. I know this is a lot of blending and dabbing, but like I said, you have to be patient because it's totally worth it. There we go. See that? Oh, I just love it. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit more of that Juniper Mist around the outside. We need to add even more drama and give it just, I think I'll wait. I get so excited to do that because it adds such a great effect that sometimes we need to wait and really step back and look at it. So we're going to set that aside and let's go to our water. Now, it's very much the same thing. We're going to, thanks Joanne. Joanne says, those clouds are amazing. I think so too. You just want to sit back and look at it. It looks like something that someone painted, and it's so easy. So we're going to do the same thing to now, when you look at the water, there's always the little ripples, the shadows, the white caps. So we need to put some of those little ripples in our water. So I'm tearing this. I'm going to tear off what we used. And I kind of want this one to be a little bit more, and it helps, look, if we pull this apart this way, you get a better tear. Instead of like this way, I pulled it a different way and you get the little frilly edges and then it won't blend easily. So just take your real close together and just pull it apart that way. Now, we're going to turn this again, and this is where I'm going to pull out one of my very thin brushes, and once again, keeping in mind that this is the moon reflecting, and we are going to tap in some of, yes, I'm using I'm not sure, I'm guessing, yes, the Picket Fence life-changing blender brushes, and I actually love them so much. Look, I bought 2 sets. I have one full set with all the little ones, and you see how much I'm using the little ones, and then I love them so much I bought another set of the big ones. So I have 2 full sets of the big ones and then 1 set of the smaller ones. And so now, right here, not far from our horizon, I'm going to clean off whatever gray I might have on that. And I'm going to go in with, let's go, I'm looking. I think I'm going to go back in with that Daydream. And we might even do some Juniper Mist for that too. But let's go with Daydream right now. And I'm taking this really narrow brush. And I'm going to tap in. And once again, just for my first initial runs, I'm going to tap a lot of that off and get it a little bit wet. And I'm just very gently tapping along the edge of my paper towel. And not all, I don't want a straight line. It's just a little tap here, a little tap here, to give it the sense of the water moving. See how, I mean, there's so little color there. Very little. And so let's do some over here. And then down here. And I could probably do this without the paper towel, but this way it's just helping keep it nice and neat. Can you see there's just so little color there? And where in the darker spots, obviously I can keep more ink. And I kind of want to alternate. I don't want it all to be right where the last one was. See that? And right here, when you're looking out across the horizon, it's going to look a little bit closer together because that's just the way it looks when you're looking out on the ocean. So you want these to be closer together, and then as you get further away from the horizon, they can be closer together or further apart. So just tapping in. Sometimes it doesn't even look like you're getting any on the paper, but normally you are. See that? Once again, it's a trial and patience. Just take your time. It's so worth it in the end. I'm moving a little bit further away. And we can always go back and add more. And you want some darker lines because you have very dark shadows here and there at night on the ocean. And if we get too much, take some color off, get it a little bit wet, and then go back in and kind of blend that out a little bit, just a little bit, like that. That's where the baby wipe is helpful. And I don't have to go all the way down because remember, we're going to do our cliff or our grassy cliff. There we go. But we need to add some more. So let's go in with another color. Let's try All That Jazz. The depth of blues is hi Nat. Nat's here from Australia. And oh, Lisa says she feels like she's in Turks and Caicos. Boy, I wish we were. Wouldn't that be awesome? I keep telling my husband I hear that that's where we need to go. So now I've got all that jazz. So let's add in some more colors. Just a little bit here and there. And see, it's better to take some color off. It looks a little softer and more like the true kind of rippling of the water. Now I'm going to go in with, I want a little bit of a brighter blue. I don't think It's a Boy will show up. So let's try some Fiesta blue. Now this is a very bright blue. So we have to be very careful. And I'm just going to add it here and there. And mainly, let's take some of this color off. And let's see what this, okay, there we go. That's definitely a brighter blue. Let's take quite a bit off. And just add a little bit here and there. I don't know if you can see that, but it does kind of add a little bit of depth of color just by switching up our blues. Sometimes I can just tap here and there. So there we go. And I mean, we could add more. We could add more, but we could be here all night. And so, let's see. I do want to add just a little bit more. Just looking at it. I don't need my paper towel to always go in. This is where we can just use, and we can kind of streak it like this, very gently. Can you see that? It's so light, you may not even be able to see it. There, but see how, I don't know if you can tell, that really kind of helped blend it all in. Now, I'm trying to think where I want to go now. Let's leave it for just a second. I am going to bring some right here where our gray line is for our horizon, just to blend that just a little bit. And let's see where we want to go now. Okay. We need to basically get, here's my thinking. We need to get most of our blending done because once we stamp our Lavinia stamps, we don't want it to smear or anything. So, thank you, Dana. Mel says she's been playing with her Catherine Puller inks too. So, I'm thinking. I want to, here's what will really make some things pop. And I pulled out two. You know that I, lots of times for the moon, pull out my Hero Arts white pigment. But I also pulled out my Picket Fence pigment, white pigment. And I'm going to use the white pigment from Hero Arts. Now I'm getting a round brush, one of my rounded ones. And we're going to dab. And this is where you need to make sure you take some off. And we're going to, where we have the white in the clouds, we want to add a little bit more to soften it and give more of those highlights. So I'm going to add some up here, just at the very tops. And you can kind of swirl it after you tap it. But even the taps give it a little bit of interest. Kind of adds to the drama. And I don't know how much you can see that. It adds just a touch to it. You don't even have to do this, but it does add, especially up here to soften the bottom line of the clouds up at the top. It will blend that just a little bit and add a little bit more highlight. So dab it and then blend it. Anywhere you have this white, see that? And you can even leave it more dramatic like that. And it really adds something to it. Can you see that? Blend it into that juniper mist. Adds even more depth to those colors that we added earlier. It's just one of those extra steps that it's like you don't have to do, but see how that softened it and made it that much more dramatic. I think we should add some little mountains right here, maybe there's cliffs off to the side. So let's use our paper towel, and we've used torn paper for this before, but we've got our paper towel so we can do this right here. And I'm going to tear a little bit of a corner so we can make it a little bit more kind of a far off, and I'm going to take it right to the water line like that. But wait a minute, we're going to go this way so that the top will be lighter and the bottom we can make darker, like mountains off to the side. And for this, let's use Twilight just to start out lighter. And for this, I'm going to use the rounded brush again. I'm going to take some of that pigment ink off. And at the same time, I want to keep my horizon line. So I'm going to put that there too. And I'm just going to dab along the horizon line because we want the tops to keep that kind of moonlit reflection. So just a hint at the top, darker color at the bottom, and there you go. We kind of didn't work so great. Let's work on that. I need it a little bit darker so you can really see it. Let's see how that looks. Good, but I have a little bit of that cloud. I don't want that to show. There, you can just get the hint of that mountain. Going in with more of the Twilight than I thought I would need, but that's okay. There, see that? Now you have the idea of the cliffs kind of in the distance. And I could even add some more in if we wanted to go again with some other ones. Keep that one lighter. And no, I'm afraid I'll mess it up. It's one of those moments where we just need to stop. I don't have many of those moments. Normally I keep going and no matter what, and then I'm upset with myself that I didn't stop. So let's keep our horizon. Let's add these in here. You can see I have a lot of the white from my pigment, but that's okay. It'll come off. I want to make sure I get that line. There we go. How's that? I like that. I'm happy with that one. Okay. Thanks, Joanne. Joanne says, wow. T says her internet is in and out, but she likes it. Thanks, T. So there's our mountains off in the distance. And I'm going to do these a little bit more because they're still not as dark as the other side. This is definitely where I'd rather add color than to have to worry about taking any away. So there's those. We're going to leave those for right now. Now we need to figure out, this is why I waited to do this. We need to figure out where our cliff is going to be. And let's leave him on there for right now so we can see where we want him. And for this, I'm going to get my Misty because you know, after all this work, we do not want to mess this up, even though I'll be using my VersaFine Clairs to stamp him. I just don't want to mess that up. So, let's see. I had to collect my thoughts. We need a rocky cliff. Once again, let's tear some paper towels. And once again, we don't want it to be too rounded, but we do want a little bit of interest. So I'm pulling together here. And there we go. So that would be our rocky cliff, and we need to figure out where we want. I want him a little bit in the moonlight, but not covering all of this. And sometimes when we take a picture, it's interesting to move our focal point off to one side, right? And not have it right in the middle. So we'll have him, we'll do this, how about, and since we aren't going to have the dragon, we can move him up just a little bit. But, you know, who wants to look at a bunch of rocks here at the bottom? So we need to keep that in mind. So let's do that about right. Let's see. And by the way, I already trimmed this down to 4 by 5 1/4, so I know I can frame it and put it on a card. So what I'm going to do, I don't want my dark area up here. I need to flip this so that my cliff is here. Looking to see where I'm going to put him about right there. So let's get this blended. And once again, it's all about the layering of colors tonight. So let's start with the hint of gray. Let's start with Twilight. And once again, I want a big, soft kind of blending. And make sure any colors kind of off of that. Put my baby wipe here. Start with a little bit of color and blend it up. And notice I'm kind of starting on the paper towel and pulling the color down. So it's going to be a very light amount of color at the top because remember, our moon's reflecting. We want the lighter color at the top and the darker color down here because that's how it would look. So starting up there is taking a little bit of the color off the paper towel, and then I can go in with more color here. Let's see how this looks. There we go. See, we just have the hint. It's really not that much. We need a little bit more going on here. Sometimes there might be a lot of ink here. Remember, we might need to dry it a little bit. And so let's see. What's the new order coming in? Oh, the Lavinia Stamps. Yes, new Lavinia Stamps. I'm going to come in with some blackjack. I think I need a little bit darker than the Twilight because we have so much color saturation down here at the bottom. Tap it to get some color on there and then blend it. They're kind of juicy, so you get some of that on there, but then as soon as you blend it, it's fine. More color around the edges, right? Let's see. There, we have a little bit more, but we need to keep going. I might even go in with some Midnight in a moment, but I don't want to get too carried away. Let's get some Sandcastle in here and see what that does. See if that's going to add anything. I don't have a darker brown. This is what I've got. But that's pretty dark if you look. And if I tap it, it gives some texture too. I don't know if you can see that. You'll see it in a second. I'll pick it up and show you. This might have been the good way to go. Add a little bit of this Sandcastle in. Get some texture. You know, a rocky cliff would have a lot of texture. So I like that we're doing this. Now let's go in with some blackjack mixed in with the Sandcastle and give it that look of maybe a pebbly appearance. Darker, lighter, mixed in together. I'm going to go back in with the Sandcastle. That was the blackjack. Can you see? I mean, it looks really messy, but a rocky cliff would be messy. Now, I don't have a lot of highlights there, so what I might do is go in, let's give it another layer here, right here, and see what we can do here to add some interest. That gave us just a hint, but you see how that added a little bit more interest, just a little bit. I want this, I'm thinking, let's go in with some of that white and see if we can give some highlights here, because the moon would be reflecting just a little bit, but our wolf is going to be there, so we're not going to worry too much about it. Just a little bit. I just lightened it just a little bit. Because it would be giving us a little bit more reflection. And we can go in with our gel pen and add some little dots and some more highlights if we want to. Let's now, here's where the fun is. I mean, I have fun creating the background, so I can't say here's where the fun is, but here's where we're going to add our wolf. So let's take this, and before I do anything, let's dry the ink a little bit. Sometimes it stays wet on there, and we do not. Thank you, Sandy. I have to tell you, I love it too. I just love these clouds. Let's dry, especially that pigment ink stays kind of wet. So, and there's so much ink, we want to dry this just so that we don't smear any of that beautiful ink. I do want to add, now that I'm looking at it, just a little bit more ink down here This is where when we step back and we look at it, sometimes we decide, I want just a little bit more ink. So I'm going to clean this off with my baby wipe, no big deal, because I want the bigger blender brush. And what did I use there? I used Daydream over there. I might use a little bit of All That Jazz to add just a little bit of color right here. We kind of want to pull the eye in this way from the reflection. Just a little bit. We don't want it to look like a solid line going this way and a solid line going that way. See that? That pulls the eye in just a little bit more. Okay? No big deal, but it does, it's just one of the, you know, the little details. So now, let's move this stuff out of the way. Get my Misty. And let me move it up here so you can see it. This is where we need to make sure our magnets are not dirty. Sometimes they'll have ink on them. And let's see where we want to put him. I don't want him right in the middle, but maybe sitting right here. What do you think? I like it. I like it. Thank you, Melinda. Yes, Catherine, I am. I'm going to put the wolf here for the wolf pack. So let's sit him here. I kind of like him pointing towards the moon and howling that way. Now let's make sure he's straight. And this is where I use my VersaFine Claire Nocturne. So tap him down, make sure he's sticking. And let me ink it up. You probably won't be able to see me ink it up. This is the VersaFine Claire Nocturne. Really get him inked well, because I am using my Misty, but I'd rather only have to stamp him once if I can. Sometimes, some of you guys know, sometimes I get brave and I will do it without the Misty, but we've worked too hard on this background. I'm going to let him sit there for a second because this is a pigment ink and I want it to kind of soak in just a little bit, so I'm going to give it just a second. And let's see how we do. Pretty good. I have one little spot right there, and I'll show you what I can do. You might not even see it. Let's see if I can pick it up. Can you see that one little spot? I have a little thin paintbrush. Let me find it under all my stuff here. That I can take my ink and just dab it on there a little bit with this very fine brush, and I can just color that in. Dab it. If there's any spot that I'm not happy with. Now you can see it looks a little dark, but that's because it's the pigment ink and it needs to blend in, and you won't notice it soon. And I could stamp it again, but even with the Misty, I don't know about you guys, sometimes I get really worried. Now, see right here where he's sitting? it's nice because his fur almost looks like some grass. And we could even, if we wanted to, we could take some ink and blend it. Or here's another trick that I didn't think about doing. If I had taken, this is a good trick, I wish I had done it. If I had taken the paper towels and kind of rubbed a little bit of his bottom off, just right there, rubbed a little tiny bit of that ink off, then when I stamped it, it would have softened it to maybe even more so look like he was sitting in the grass. Like there'd be more, it'd be softer around. And that's a good trick if you're doing snow or something's running in snow. Melinda says he could be an old wolf with some gray hair. And absolutely, I agree. So, let's see, what else? Melissa says, Kelly is out of the wolf stamp, but she's getting more Lavinia, and hopefully there will be wolves in there. So, let's take him out. And there we go. Let me put that aside. Now, let's get the oak leaves going. And I think I want the drama of the, sometimes I like to use other colors, but I really like the drama of the black because we have all these other beautiful colors going on. So let's use black and see how it goes. Hopefully we'll like this and we won't wish that we had used a different color. Thank you, Andre. I love the way those inks blend on the cardstock, and the paper towel just makes it so easy, and those blending brushes, it just all works together perfectly. So let's have some leaves. I don't want to go too far down. Coming in this way. Once again, letting it sit for a second. There we go. Now, ooh, doesn't that look pretty? Oh my gosh, the drama. And then I want to use a second generation stamp to give it a little bit of texture, like there's some leaves a little bit further away. Can you see that? That little bit of shadow helps add some interest. And I'm thinking almost because that covered up so much of our clouds over here, I don't want to put more leaves over here because it would cover all those up. So I think that the tree, we can just pretend that the tree is right here. And it's just the hint of one branch coming down. And it's drawing our eye towards our wolf. I think I'm good without adding more leaves. I think I like that. I don't want to cover up these beautiful clouds. So let's now use, how about some of this lavender? It's not too big. It's not too much. I think this is lavender. Let's see. Yep, that was the lavender. Let's get a new block. And I think, I'm still thinking we'll go with black. I don't know. I might be making a mistake. Sometimes, you know, I like to use the other colors, but I really like the drama in this one. So let's add some lavender right here by him. Kind of coming up right behind him. And maybe another, you know, we'll do the second generation again. Right here. And maybe we'll do just a little bit there, not a whole lot. Trying to think. We'll do one more. With the second generation. Okay, there we go. Just a hint of the grasses. The leaves are coming down. We've got our clouds, the reflection. Love it. What do you guys think? Okay, let's finish this up. We're getting close to an hour and a half, and I know, I normally try to keep it. Let's get this dry before we mess it up. We'll do a little bit of blending, but once again, I don't want to do too much because we don't want to mess up our beautiful clouds there. I am going to use just a little bit of this to edge it. So for this, I'm going to use a medium brush because I want it to be soft but I don't want to cover up too much. So we're just going for a little edge this time. And I'll show you, we'll do one half and we won't do the other half, and then you can see the difference. And the nice bigger brushes, you can really control how far you come in and how much ink you add. And I definitely don't want to come in too far on this one. Sometimes if you tap, once there's so much ink on your cardstock, tapping it is a way to transfer more ink. So there, can you see that? See the difference? No color, and then the black just adds a little bit of drama and brings your eye in even more. Tapping a little bit more, like I said, there's so much ink already, it doesn't want to transfer as much. So the tapping helps give you a little bit more. And on the bottom, obviously, that's not our most exciting part. So I can bring the black up just a little bit. There. Now let's see. Let me add a little bit more here. And let's see. Let me get a new piece of paper. There we go. What do you think? Now, final touches. Let's get, I have a new favorite, I have to tell you. I'm sure this probably isn't new to a lot of people. These are the Signo Uniball white gel pens. And it's an extra fine point. I've never had an extra fine point before. And I love these. I can put the finest little dot star in the sky this way. So let's add some stars. I don't know if you guys can see those. Can you see them? the camera's not really picking them up a lot. But I love this fine point. I'm so glad. I just got it and I'm thrilled with it. Don't want to go where the leaves are or where our mountains are. And then if we want to, I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it. I'll pick it up for you. Can you see them? You can see them in person, but the camera's not quite picking it up. Kind of looks like twilight, doesn't it? A little bit, if you can see those. We can also use this to add in some of the white at the top of just a little hint of the white in the water. Just the little lines, you know, the little tiny white caps you might see as the water's rippling. I doubt that you guys can kind of see this because it's very fine, but it's another one of those little details that, and you might even have some reflection over here where it's a little bit darker, and so add those in. Not a lot, like that one looks a little, so I can kind of tap it off with my finger if I get a little too much, it's okay. Even in your darker, your shadow areas, you're still going to have a little bit of reflection here and there. And remember, let's give our wolf just a little bit. We're going to have it coming down here on his head, and you might not even be able to see that one, but it makes a difference. And then right here on his ear, up against that, there you go. Now you can see that one, and the little tip of this one. This is where the fine, extra fine tip pen is really nice. And you might even have some a little bit here on the tips of his fur. And even right here, this might be under his chest. I don't want to do that one. So even back here, you might have a little bit. There we go. And even on these, you might have a little bit on those little flowers. See that difference that makes? And just a little bit in the shadows. Not much. Take a little bit away if it's too much. Even on these, tap it with your finger and it removes some of it. There. I don't know if you guys can see in much of that. Let's see. Can you see any of that? Just the little touches, that's it. There we go.